Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is PSI Studios here, and today we're going to model a magnifying glass in Geometry Nodes. We are already in our Geometry Nodes tab, and we start out by pressing New to make a new setup. We don't want this default cube to be our input, so we're going to delete it, selecting it and pressing X. We start out by adding a curve line, because this is a perfect start for our handle. Shift A, Shift A, search curve line. Curve line. If we want to see the curve line, we can just Ctrl Shift and left click on it if we have Node Wrangler add-on enabled, and we see our curve line there. I would like to make this curve into a mesh, and I would like to also add some thickness to it. So there's one perfect way to do it. If we make this curve into a mesh, curve to mesh, and also we need to give it a profile curve to see the thickness. I think the perfect curve for that would be a circle. So I'm adding in a curve circle, and now we see that our circle appears. I will make it smaller by reducing the radius. Now, I also would like to have a control how to scale this curve line in the midpoints. So how can we do it? I think the best way to do it is if I add a node called set curve radius, and now we can tell to the points that we have on a curve how we control them. So adding in a spline parameter or curve parameter and using the factor on our radius. Now we see that our curve is going to be smaller down from downside and bigger on the top side. Because of a default, it is going to be curve line like this. So we can actually add in a float curve, which looks exactly the way. And if you want it to be on the same size as both sides, we can actually tweak it like this. Or maybe we want to start lower, it also lowers the radius. But now if I start adding points here, nothing happens. That's because we don't have enough points on our curve line. Our curve line has only a starting point and end point. So we can actually fix it by adding in a resample curve node. Resample curve. And now we see exactly we have this profile like this in there. We can make the count bigger, then we have more points. We see the points here. We have 1.8k vertices, and we can also lower the number. The more numbers we have, the more you can control the shape. So now at this point, you should just play around with this. Now we got our handle done. Next, we want to add in the part that goes on top of our handle for connecting it with a glass piece. So we can actually just make a copy out of it by selecting all, pressing Shift D to duplicate the top part, and now we can just reset the curve. Reset view. And I'm going to reset curve, sorry. Check this out again, and it also looks like this. For this one, I don't need so many points, so I'm going to reduce them so it wouldn't be so heavy. And I'm going to transform it, moving it up on our Z line, something like this. I can also join two meshes to see what I'm doing by pressing Ctrl, Shift and right mouse click, dragging it like this. And now these two parts are connected. So I'm going to lift it up. Yeah, something like this. Also bottom part. And I'm trying to make these two parts connect. This shouldn't be so high, so I think it can be something like something like this. Don't forget to fill the gaps. Now we're going to edit the shape like before. If you don't like the shape, you can always change it. Now I'm going to make the top part. I'm going to add in a curved circle. Shift A, search, curved circle. And I want to see what I'm doing, so I'm going to connect it into the joint geometry. And I want to give it a thickness, so I'm going to make it into a mesh curve to mesh. Also, I'm going to need a profile curve for that. So I'm going to make a copy out of this and going to put it in the profile curve. Of course, it is too thick, so I'm going to lower the radius. I think I don't need so much resolution here, so I'm going to put it on 12. Now I'm going to transform it up. So I'm going to add in a transformation node. Also, I'm going to rotate for 90 degrees and moving it up. Maybe something like this. And I'm also going to scale it and make it wider on y-axis. Doesn't work like this, so it means I'm going to need to scale my profile curve. I'm going to add here a transformation node like this, and going to scale it on y-axis. Now we're left with a glass or lens, and so now we're going to add in a lens. It is always a good idea to organize your network. You can do it by adding in frames, Shift A, frame. You can drag and drop them into the frame, and by pressing N, you can actually give it a label, like maybe this is rim. You can also change colors depending on what you like, so your network is organized. But now we're going to add in a glass. So I'm going to add in UV sphere. And going to put it into the joint geometry. I think it's too big and I want to rotate it, so I'm going to add in another transform node. Going to rotate it 90 degrees. And also scaling it down on z-axis. Going to lift it up for about the same amount because the middle point is the same. And I think I need to scale it down on these two axes as well. Something like this. You can make it your own and keep the settings how you like. Also, don't forget to shade everything smooth by adding in set smooth node. Set shade smooth, and now everything should be shaded smooth. Thank you for watching. See you in the next part.